So our next panel up this is going to be very entertaining, actually. I think this is sort of what this is like. I have a much more what I consider scholarly kind of academic panel that's coming up later. And this is definitely like the sort of, I think, like the comic relief panel that I'm very excited about. So
not scholarly, not very intelligent.
I know. Jen,
dumb as a rock, but funny.
Intro is even better than the whoops, are you on? My bad. That makes that one look great.
I have some real thinkers coming up in an hour, but for right now.
But before that, what better palate? Now we have our palate cleanser panel.
Yeah.
So we are going into this is going to be fun. All of this panel are people that I'm just going to add everybody
are very smart in addition to being funny.
Very smart and in addition to being funny, but just fellow content creators, people that also have their own streams and people that everybody should also be subscribed to and listen to that are really good voices in independent media. And we're so appreciative that you all are here. And I don't know, Katie, do you have any better like bio information? John, where's my bio information?
Yeah, well, let's see. We got, of course.
We know Lee from Redacted tonight. And but what do you say where Americans on American soil are considered foreign agents? Is that
I start every show by saying where Americans in America covering American news are called foreign agents. Yeah. Okay,
yes. And then we have Rania Khalek, who is who also has a show with Kevin Gostola, among other projects, and Ron Placone, who has a show.
Oh, yes, Ron Placone.
No, go ahead, Katie. You are infinitely better at this than I am. This was sort of my brainchild, but I brought her in fairly quickly because I knew that I wasn't going to be capable of handling this.
It was her brainchild, but then she gave it up.
I gave it. I birthed
put it on my doorstep and ran away. I'm just kidding. That's not true. But yeah, Ron Placone from Get Your News On with Ron, and he has his own show and his own album, and also very funny. And then Rania Khalek is a Beirut-based journalist who does have an authorized disclosure. What else should we plug of yours, Rania?
That's it for now. I've got a big move coming up, but not ready to announce yet.
She's not announcing it yet. This is very we don't know the details of the big move
coming up.
You know what's going to be really bad is if I announce it and it's like I'm going to Fox News, you guys. And you guys are like, we did not see that one come in.
Yeah.
Like, yep.
I would just figure you were infiltrating. I would just figure that they didn't know who you were and that you were just infiltrating for us.
They could be critical of and then think she's a Foxian right winger, but
that's true. I like sneak in with like really good makeup and I'll blade my hair a little bit and they won't know what's coming to them. And then I'll just start like reading marks on air.
Yeah, right.
Good news, everybody. I got a new gig. Bad news, it's only going to last for a week, but it's going to be memorable. It's going to be
quite a splash. Yeah.
Make a very big impact.
Yep.
First, I want to say real quick, Jen and Katie, thank you all so much for doing this, and everyone else who is helping out, thank you all so much for doing this. And Lee and Rania, it's awesome to see y'all and an honor to be with y'all. And this is very important. So thank you to everybody who's making this happen.
Well, Ron and Rania, get ready. There's some academic scholarly people coming up in an hour. So
they are.
Well,
in 2 hours are the scholarly people.
We need 2 hours to get from this level to that level. It's such a steep climb.
In protest of the entertainment hour, I am actually going to take out an academic paper I wrote and read it on air.
Wow, that's great.
Please do. No, she's flexing brain muscle. It's great.
Well, no, I mean, she's done.
He's like, sure, yeah.
No, a lot of original reporting. In fact, tell us, why don't we start off by what got each of you interested in this? Then we can talk kind of more about the larger media failures around this. But yeah, what is your relationship with this story?
I can say for me, as somebody who, as somebody who's been reporting on anti-imperialism, oftentimes on the ground in countries like Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Julian Assange, WikiLeaks has been, as a journalist, has been such a huge asset for me. And I think most journalists can agree with that. Anytime you go to report on anything involving U.S. meddling, U.S. intervention, propaganda for war, the lead up to war. I mean, I'm talking about the whole host of countries. This is the month of March right now, which is an anniversary month for the NATO bombing of Libya, the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003, the uprising in Syria that was very, very quickly hijacked by the U.S. and its regional allies to use it to try to overthrow and collapse the Syrian government. And those wars alone, you can just find a trove of golden information in WikiLeaks cables showing the U.S. involvement in war crimes in all of these places. And just the way the U.S. works with local actors and local operatives in these countries to push its agenda. And so just from a journalistic perspective, Julian Assange has done more for journalism in this century than I think any single other figure. And I don't say that lightly. And I think that, even the outlets that hate him couldn't deny that, because they literally won like Pulitzer Prizes based on what WikiLeaks revealed. So it really is, Julian Assange is a treasure of this century, and WikiLeaks is a treasure of this century. And I mean, even now, years later, after these cables have come out, I still, every time I go to report on a story, one of the first things I do is I go and look up what exists about these particular individuals or this particular country in WikiLeaks cables.
And that's exactly why they needed to shut Julian Assange down and WikiLeaks down, because they didn't want people like you and us to have that information. In terms of when I first became aware of him, it was around the same time as everybody else. The year before Occupy started, and I don't think without Julian Assange and without WikiLeaks, I don't think you would have seen the Arab Spring. I don't think you would have seen Occupy start off, which then the ripples of that led to the Bernie Sanders movement in many ways. And I don't think that many of these things would have taken place without Julian Assange and WikiLeaks revealing so many war crimes. And of course, now we're seeing we live in an inverted moral universe, a world where if you reveal war crimes, you're in prison. If you commit war crimes, you're given awards. If you reveal the endless surveillance of American citizens, you're imprisoned or attacked or called a traitor. If you're involved in the endless surveillance of American citizens, you are honored and you are at the top of the oligarchy. It is a completely upside down, inverted moral universe, and it's revolting to see. And it's why the ruling elite felt they needed to shut WikiLeaks and Julian Assange down, and it's why they continue to pursue him today.
Yeah, I mean, and I echo everything that everybody said, and it's interesting. In the American media, they really like it if people have the memory of a goldfish and don't remember that as the years have gone by, WikiLeaks and Julian Assange have exposed war crimes and have exposed so many other things that were essential for people to know. And I don't have the memory of a goldfish. My short term is not spectacular. I mean, cannabis did a number over the years and continues to.
I feel you.
Get a job at the Biden administration. Sorry, by the way.
I know.
We're out.
I retracted my resume late last night. I was bummed out to hear about it.
Why face the disappointment? Yeah.
Well, most weed smokers, their dream is to work for the administration of a man who put so many of the fellow weed smokers in prison.
Right.
So
yeah.
The irony of Joe Biden saying other people's brains are fried.
I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, he feels like he has, it's like he can say that, it's like he has the cultural, it's like his, it's like when I say something about Jews, right? Like I can say that.
Right. He has standing. He has standing to mess with the delusional and mentally decrepit.
Right. But also I would say that, if people want Joe Biden to hook them up with a job, they need to not do pot. What they need to pursue is actually like crack cocaine. They need to frequent strip clubs. Have exotic dancers go out and buy sex toys to use on them, and then be a hunter,
Hunter Biden,
follow the money.
What'd you say, Bron?
And he'll just give you money.
He'll just give you money, or he'll get you a job. He may not hire you, but he'll hook you up with the job. Yeah,
he'll hook you up with a job doing nothing.
It must be nice to have Joe Biden as your father. Like that's got to be such a cushy.
Yeah, I mean, Well, I
way
would
to
say
grow
it's
up?
probably incredibly traumatic and gives you a lot of issues. But then once that happens, if you're going to have a dad who helps make you really, troubled, he's the best one to have.
But you
dads
also
who get
helps make
troubled.
you very rich. Like
Yeah, of
it's like
course, right.
you if you're born a Biden, like it's
Right.
like being born into like a sort of mediocre dynasty. Like you
Yeah.
get the,
It's
you know what I mean?
basically
There's going to
It's
be a lot of
basically-
trust issues in that family, though. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
well, the
Not a lot
way
of
I
trust
see it,
funds.
it's like he'll come in and he'll go, "I have no empathy," but then you'll be like, "Well, I don't need any, so that's fine. I'm rich."
Yeah.
Right.
good.
Right.
I think I'm of the opinion that money really does buy happiness. And I think the person who came up with the idea that it doesn't was just like a rich person
Right.
trying to convince like their workers.
No, there's
like,
a threshold. There's a threshold.
there
And
is,
actually,
but
this
it's
has
like
been
$10
studied.
million. It's like $10 million.
No,
After 10 million.
No, there's a
Oh.
threshold. I think it's like I want to say it's like 75 or what. It's probably higher now. That when you reach that point, above that, there's no exponential happiness from more money. But yes, a basis of not having to stress about your existence in
Right,
life
which is
is
what I mean,
something
yeah.
that causes happiness. Yes, that is
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, and I think it would be great if we're trying to get one person to call per segment. Does anyone want to call their congressperson,
Who wants to volunteer?
senator,
Who-
or the
I mean,
Justice
I could
Department
do
on
it.
speaker?
I could do it. If
Hold
you
on,
want.
I'm
They
gonna put it
have
up. I'm gonna
all,
put it up.
all government agencies have my number blocked. So
I was going to say when Medea called, I'm like, a watch list thing is going to go off, but that's same. for
Okay,
everyone.
Medea's probably already on that list.
That's what I'm saying. She's on a list.
Yeah.
It's going to go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure she is.
So am I. I'm sure.
Okay, so I'm calling and then I'm just like saying the script.
Yeah. Or you can make
Okay.
it your own a little bit. Whatever.
Yeah, I
can
mean, this
inherit
is for people that really just don't even know where to start.
Okay. I don't know. Someone else might do this. Like, are you looking for this to be more of like an entertaining thing?
do you,
No,
do you
No,
speak,
well, look, I assure you, mine wasn't that funny. It wasn't.
Do-
It was just pretty plain.
It's not,
does anyone
I-
does anyone speak other languages? Can you call and say it in Farsi or something?
They would,
hello, my name is Rania Khalek, and I'm calling from Washington, D.C. I'm calling to ask that the United States drop its case against Julian Assange. I'm deeply concerned about the potential.
Okay, ma'am, I'm the operator. I don't take messages at the switchboard. You need to leave the message.
How did you get a person?
Now, which office would you like?
Well, I'm in Northern Virginia. Mark Warner's my senator.
Hold on, please.
wow.
She's so
Maybe-
mad.
I know. Maybe a lot of people have been calling that.
She
Someone
hung
gotta
up
find
on
a
me.
Good.
congresswoman.
She
She
hung
didn't
up
forward
on
it to
me.
you?
No,
You
try
sure?
the DOJ. Yeah,
Hold on.
start with the DOJ and push one.
I
and
pressed
then
the
you
wrong
get
number,
there.
guys. Okay, wait. I did
That's
the wrong
okay.
one. I did the
So
second one. That's
now Ranya's angered the Senate switchboard.
yeah.
Ma'am, this is an Arby's.
She was so mad. Okay, I think this is the right one this time. I don't want to like piss off some like worker who's just like,
No,
Yeah.
it goes to a recording.
here it is.
Although your opinion is valuable to us, we cannot return calls made to this number. If you would like to contact the Department of Justice, including the Attorney General, please log on to our website at www.justice.gov
I can contact the Attorney General.
and select one of the options under the contact link. If you have a
Whoa.
law enforcement issue, please contact your local police.
Do I get to like
Jen,
leave a
did this
message?
happen to you?
You'll push one. Yeah. Wait.
If you would like to leave a comment regarding civil and constitutional rights,
That's the one.
please press 1.
Yeah.
One.
Press
Okay.
one.
Please leave your comment regarding civil and constitutional rights.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hello, my name is Rania Khalek, and I'm calling from Fairfax, Virginia. I'm calling to ask that the United States drop its case against Julian Assange. I'm deeply concerned about the potential ramifications that prosecuting a journalist for exposing American war crimes will have on our civil liberties. Joe Biden promised that he would end Trump's attacks on the press, yet his administration has indicated that it'll continue to seek Assange's extradition. The prosecution of Assange creates a dangerous precedent that will prevent journalists from holding our government accountable. Please protect our First Amendment and drop the case against Assange immediately. Thank you for your time. Free Julian Assange. End all the wars. Bye.
great. That was great.
I love that you added that little, and that was a nice little twist at the end. That was good. Yeah, people feel free to ad lib. This is
Yeah,
a
of
good creative
course, yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
It's really
Yeah.
cool, actually. You have the script. Like, this is really cool that you guys did this. It makes it a million times easier because people, even I would get like a little like, oh, free Julian Assange. Like, this is a
Yeah, of
fantastic script, and it's very
Yeah.
to the point and makes all the necessary points.
I like that the message that you had to listen to said we don't have the ability to respond to calls or something. It's
Call
like, no,
back. They're
you
not gonna
do
call you
have
back.
the ability. You have the choice not to respond to calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not
You're
going to call you
choosing
back.
not to. Yeah. Yeah. But this was
At
well
least they're
done. This was well
transparent
done.
about the boundaries of the relationship. You know, it's better than pretending they're going to call you back.
And Rania, Kevin has a comment for you. I actually think I might agree with that.
Yeah.
There should be like a little segment every week that we'll do. By the way, if you're watching, just a plug on
Piss
Unauthorized
off your
Disclosure,
senator.
Kevin
Yeah.
Costola and I co-host a podcast together called Unauthorized Disclosure. That is what he was referring to. So if
Yes.
you'd like to see more angry switchboard operators,
Yeah.
I think that's a great bit, actually. I think that's really funny.
The switchboard operator was like, whoa, you've confused me for someone who gives a shit. Please.
Well, as
I work for the government. We don't care.
someone pointed out they'd be happier if they made 15. Here you go. Silence. She'd be less mad if she was making 15 an hour. True. So yeah.
Help true.
But the
That's
parliamentarian, no way. So anyone else want to do one? Also highly recommend doing your. So John Kiriakou, who has worked for both the Senate and the House, was saying that the Congress people are very affected by
Right.
this stuff. So
Yeah. So so if somebody wants to try their person, some people's mailboxes are full. So you could very easily get this person's mailbox is full. I would think they should just say, look, we're just not wanting to listen to you.
right,
just
I
don't
can
care
call
what you have
mine,
to
and if
say.
you don't know who's yours is, you can go to that place I just mentioned earlier. But I know who mine is. So, but lots of people probably don't.
What do you guys think is
So-
going to happen?
You want
Do
me
you
to call?
think
Or someone else
Oh,
want to
you're
call?
gonna call.
And then we'll talk more about the Assange case.
I think we should have Ron call. It just
Okay,
seems like
Ron,
a
yeah.
good. It just
Yeah,
seems
well, no,
like
I
a.
have
It
to-
Do you know who
seems
your
like an
Congress member-
entertaining.
You know,
Your
it's funny.
congressperson?
I moved a couple months ago, so I don't actually know who my current one is.
Yeah. Well, then here's what you do. You go to house.gov/representative/find -your representative. I'll put it in there again.
Yeah, I
in
just put in.
DC, so we're not actually part of the country, so
Oh, right. Yeah. Here it is.
You're
putting
not-
it again.
we don't actually get representatives or
That's right. You guys. No, you have a representative. She just can't vote.
a shadow representative. People, I love they spend $1 million on a shadow race that doesn't have any right to vote.
Wow,
There, I
that's
got it.
crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this directs it to House too. You tell them, but do you have to know
Yeah.
your House members? My question.
You no, you do. I
Oh,
don't
there's a
think they tell
capital.
you
You
that.
have to.
Someone's saying
I'm
there's
on
a
the-
capital switchboard.
Right, but if you
Do you see
if
that?
you don't know your congressperson, then
Oh, yeah. Mm.
She wasn't seemingly helpful. She didn't sound like, how can I really help you find out who you want to talk to?
yes,
She
this is
hung
true,
up
Josh
on me.
Needley.
I just
Straight up
Alright.
put
hung
in.
up on me.
Okay,
Yes,
Ron,
that's
yeah.
true.
I
So
just put
somebody's
in
saying
my-
if it's full, put it in an email. And yes,
Yeah.
please feel free to copy and paste the script and send an email to
Yeah.
your people if their mailbox is full, for sure.
Yeah.
I just put in my zip code, and I guess I overlap with multiple congressional districts. So there's 3 that pop.
Yeah, I got
that
3
popped
too.
up as possibilities.
Then you need to
Yeah.
put your exact address and then
That's
it'll break it down.
exciting.
No, they're all
It's
yours.
gerrymandered. It's gerrymandering at its
Oh,
finest.
they're all mine. Like they're for
Yeah.
sure all
No,
mine?
No, they're not.
No.
Oh, I don't.
they're not
understand.
all
Oh, okay.
yours.
I mean,
Ron, you get to
I have
vote
2
3
senators,
times.
but one. So I have 2 senators, obviously.
Correct.
I thought I'd have
and
a
one
bunch of-
representative.
One representative. I think mine's Maloney.
Yeah,
cut
you have
this out
one
of the video.
representative, but if you go by zip code, because of how districts are cut, one zip code could have different representatives, but each person based
Right.
on their exact address has one.
I've been voting 3 times for years, so that's nothing new for me.
So
but-
there's the source of all of our problems with,
Yeah.
with election
We
fraud right
Just
Have
there.
me-
uncovered voter fraud
I've
on this
been-
program.
Well, I mean, I am, you
I
know,
just had
my
total
dad and
senior
I
moment.
have the same first name, but not the same middle name. So I've just been voting a bunch of times constantly, which is, I don't
We finally
gonna
found
do?
you. We
You
finally found the one
me.
real moment of voter fraud.
I'm the guy.
Yeah.
I'm the guy.
Yeah.
All right, I found it.
All
it. Yeah. Here, hold on. It's cool. All right. Let me
Who's
go
your
ahead.
guy?
It is Nanette Diaz Barragan. I'm probably mispronouncing that a little bit, but yeah, she's my district.
So when you call, ask for her. Ask for her.
Ask for Nanette, not the YouTube video, not
First
the
name
Netflix.
basis.
Uh,
First name.
yeah.
Well, maybe they'll. Yeah. All right. So here we go.
I think Katie gave her a nickname.
Disguise your voice.
Hi, you have reached Congresswoman Nanette Diaz Barragan. You have reached my local district office. We are unable to take your call right now. Please leave your name, your number, and a short message, and we will return your call. Thank you for calling, and have a great day.
Hello, my name is Ron Placone. I am calling from San Pedro, California. I'm calling to ask that the United States drop its case against Julian Assange. I'm deeply concerned about the potential ramifications that prosecuting a journalist for exposing American war crimes will have on our civil liberties. Joe Biden promised that he would end Trump's attacks on the press, yet his administration has indicated that it will continue to seek Assange's extradition. The prosecution of Assange creates a dangerous precedent that will prevent journalists from holding our government accountable. Please protect our First Amendment and drop the case against Assange immediately. Thank you for your time. End the wars. Single payer now. There you
Great.
go.
That was good. Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah.
Wait, do you want Assange free or you want single payer? You get one issue.
Yeah. You got.
Ron.
Yeah.
Doing all of it. We're
Yeah.
going. I'm asking for the moon and a pony.
Yeah. You can't have this. You can't have it all. Yeah.
Do you guys
great.
think? Do you guys think that Biden's actually gonna like drop? Because you have this line in it, which is really good. You're like, Biden promised he'd end Trump's attacks on the press, but like how confident are you?
Well, that's
We're
why we're
just
doing this,
guessing.
kind of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a better opportunity now. And look, we kind of probably all think that, you know, at the 2-year mark, they're going to try to push him out and shove Kamala down our throats. And I think at that point, our chance gets much smaller. So I think that this is now kind of the opportunity to do this.
Well, I
Yeah,
actually
and-
think that him tripping up the stairs was Kamala Harris's doing. So it might
Yeah.
be before 2 years.
Then
I think
no,
was-
because then she'll only get one more term.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean,
so
I don't
that's-
think she'd get any more terms, but in constitutionally speaking, she would then only if he doesn't make it to the 2-year mark, then that would count as her first term.
And Lee, what were you saying?
Well, I was going to say that I mean, it kind at this point now that the Britain has said he can't be extradited and there's really nothing left. I mean, the Sweden accusations have all collapsed. And he's over the amount of time that he should have been held for jumping bail or whatever. All of those things have passed. So now this really is the only thing left is just the Biden administration, wanting to continue with this ridiculous appeal. And, I don't have a lot of faith in electoral politics in general, but this is one of the few issues where it is like the only thing now that can keep Assange in prison is the Biden administration continuing to say that they are chasing this. It really is. So the moment they say they're not going to appeal, he's free. I mean, it really is insane. But.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's really easy to just Biden fell down the stairs because Kamala says blue.
That's my producer, John, by the way. He's the one who wrote this script. So
Yeah.
That gave some
love
awful
it.
mental images in my brain. Is he talking about like a sexual vibrator? Like,
I don't think so, John. Yeah, that's an image we didn't need.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Unclear.
I apologize.
But yeah,
I apologize.
Kamala did smoke pot, so she's got to go. It's true. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that's so frustrating, and I hope can maybe work again, is you think that if you like, apparently you like libs, and someone was like, don't be so partisan. Okay, I'll stop being partisan when the world stops being partisan, and everyone who's post-partisan, you're welcome to also do everything for free Assange. But like, if
Is post-partisan like postpartum? Like, how do you be post-partisan?
I don't know.
What is that?
There's
What does that
bipartisan,
mean?
post-partisan.
Well, you could call me partisan in that I view both the corporate parties as one corporate
Right, yes.
pathetic show.
Right.
Yeah, well, I call that
Yeah.
nonpartisan. I call that nonpartisan.
All right.
Nonpartisan, sure. But anyway, for the liberals out there who like Obama and don't like Trump, I'm sure you're going to want to push Biden to do the right thing and do what Obama did, which was not pursue Assange, as opposed to doing what Trump and John Pompeo wanted to do, because you don't want to be on the side of that existential threat. Cheeto Mussolini, demented, whatever, right? I'm talking to you, Pod Save America boys. Like, use your use your platforms to err on this, to defend a free press.
That's what's really frustrating is how we have this squad, right? We have these like progressive members of Congress that we're supposed to be really excited about being there, and they don't say anything about Julian Assange.
No.
Like, am I like being unfair to say that?
No, that's something
That's accurate.
They will not touch it. They won't go near it. I don't understand why. I know why. Okay, I guess I know why, but like at the same time, I'm also like, I don't get it. Like, we're supposed to have, idea is that you're not corporately funded. You're not in the hands of weapons companies, right? You're backed by your base, by you're basically crowdfunding your ability to be a politician. And you're being crowdfunded by people who care about this issue, and still they will not touch it. So like, it's like it almost makes me feel like you can't actually do anything to change the inner workings of this system. Like, I don't know.
I try not to go there, because then it's like, what else do you do? Because right now, unfortunately, that's the system. I'm talking more about the Democratic Party. Like, I mean, it's like it's gotten to a point where, okay, we have like 10 people calling themselves the Squad, and this is one of the most important. We're all talking. You're doing a whole live stream because this is the most important issue right now. Like, free Julian Assange. Look at all these important things WikiLeaks has done, and also the precedent it sets and the consequences for journalism and a free press. Yet still, like, why isn't AOC saying anything on this? Like, why isn't Ilhan? And I'm not going to pick on the Squad. I just mean to say, like, why is nobody in a position of power who's not beholden to corporate interests in the military-industrial complex still too frightened to touch this issue?
It's one of the third rails.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because people have done such a good job of, I mean, it's very embarrassing. And you guys should, Rania, and especially you, Rania and Lee, especially you to a less extent, I would say, Ron, through no fault of your own. But just because you're not someone who, has a show on RT and then has been affiliated with, like both of you, Lee and Rania, you both have to have your stuff has like a Russian, Russian media warning on it? Like
Russia state affiliate.
Yeah, I mean, you know that. Like, and I've said this on multiple occasions because I want people.
My Russian minders are under my desk right now. So.
Oh, actually, Lee's
the one in charge.
Most of us are operated by Putin, but Lee is actually, according to someone who made an impassioned video about this during a podcast appearance, a YouTube show appearance. It's like Matt Taibbi, Katie Halpert. No, shout out to him for saying Katie Halpert, then Matt Taibbi. I really appreciate that. Aaron Mate, Max Blumenthal, Putin, Lee Camp. So it's not that all roads point to Putin. It's all roads point to Lee Camp. But I mean, you guys have experienced this, and I talk about this because I get a visceral feeling when I feel pressure not to have someone on my show, and I ignore it. Like, but I feel it. I want people to know that I feel it, and that everyone. So imagine I'm saying this now, and I'm someone who acknowledges that, and I'll have you on my show, knowing full well that if and when I do, it's like nonstop calling you, a sadist. In fact, I'm surprised they haven't started saying Assangists.
No, but we're too busy getting
them ideas, Katie.
I know.
No, we're getting criticized from somebody who thinks that there's this one group that has all proprietary control over all things Julian Assange. And how dare anybody do this without including those people? And these are the people that punch sideways. And I don't personally know why there's somebody on the thread that is basically just shame on you guys for coming on here because we didn't do it through whoever, whatever the organization is.
I don't think because you can, but I would just ignore it because
point is that you're going to get criticized no matter what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, it really was a concerted effort to take a lot of the left and malign them as Russian or Assad or whatever. Jimmy Dore is called an Assadist, and it's utter garbage. But it does seem like it was, somewhat coordinated. I mean, the attacks against me in the New York Times and NPR happened within months of each other. And I think it was designed so that if someone Googles me, the first thing they're going to find is the New York Times piece. And I mean, of course, it's utterly ridiculous, but it serves its purpose to act like anyone left of the corporate talking points is. And actually, they did the same thing to Julian Assange. I mean, he hasn't worked with Russia any more than he's worked with other countries. And he's revealed, classified stuff or stuff that these governments did not want out. He's revealed stuff in WikiLeaks about Russia, about Australia, about China, about Britain, and yet it's been set up as Assange works with Russia. He is some sort of agent for Russia, which is utter bullshit, but it serves its purpose so that these garbage neoliberals can point to that and say, oh, well, he's a Russian agent,
Right.
Well, have you ever?
Well, we get very limited media here. Like most people here, they turn on CNN and they think they're very well informed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
have you ever talked to some of those people, like people who just, cable news is a heck of a drug and not a good one. And have you ever just had conversations with some of these people who are, against Assange? Have you ever just looked them in the eye and just said, what did he do? Explain to me what he did. What's his crime? And then they'll recite a buzzword as if it's just like, well, Russian agent. Like, no, actually, that's not true. That's not true at all. So try again. What exactly did he do? And
Well,
even if
it's amazing how often they say he's a dick, and it's like,
Yeah, who cares?
Even if that were true, why would
Yeah.
that fucking matter?
So
Right.
this is your typical. This is right, like your typical. This is like a typical thing from the toolbox of painting the target as like a bad person with a bad personality.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Factor.
You just
Matt Taibbi calls
Assange,
it. Yeah.
maybe I don't know if Julian Assange is a good personality, a bad personality. I don't care. But
Right.
they did such an excellent job of turning him into this really detestable figure on like personal level that makes people cringe, that Julian Assange ends up basically being prosecuted in the court of public opinion for having a bad personality. And it makes it about that instead of the actual issues at hand, which is an attack on the press, and the destruction of like a human being. I mean, this guy is being destroyed. He's mentally, psychologically being destroyed. The kind of conditions he's been kept in, for not to mention 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy. Like, think about how we all went nuts the last year because of the various weeks or months we had to spend not seeing people, and how isolating and awful that was. And even if you still have like a significant other or like your immediate family, if you have kids that you can still see, it was still really hard to not see people, to see like a handful of people, and that's it. And then imagine just being alone in the Ecuadorian embassy. Not even
Being
a house,
spied on,
like
being spied on, having your kids' diapers
and
gone through.
and he knew he was being spied on, and everyone thought he was crazy and paranoid, but he turned out to be correct. They were spying on him in the freaking bathroom. Like, they destroyed this guy, like, from the inside out. Like, he still exists, but he'll never exist like he was before. And it's also meant, I think, to be like a message to others. Like, if you challenge U.S. empire in a significant way that actually, causes like, us to look really bad, then we will destroy you. And here's an example.
Leon Panetta actually said it. He said the most we can hope for is this sets an example to others.
How is that not scary to people? Like, what are you guys thinking, journalists? I guess they know that they never do anything as brave as what Assange does, like the powerful ones, the ones who didn't say anything about being spied on.
Because they're
so
not journalists.
infuriating, though.
They're not journalists. Like, people, I'm not saying everyone at CNN or New York Times. There's some really excellent reporters there, but the people who hate Julian Assange, the opinion makers, I'll just use David Brooks as like a generic stand-in, but people like that aren't journalists. They're stenographers for Empire. They're like pro-corporate hacks. They're never, ever, ever going to present a challenge to the powers that be. So they know they have nothing to worry about. They are a part of the powers that be.
Well, and their point is always, oh, well, Assange isn't a journalist. He doesn't count as a journalist. And my point is, well, okay, if, since WikiLeaks has never published anything false in its entire history, then I guess whatever WikiLeaks and Julian Assange is, it is not what they claim to be at CNN or Fox News or whatever, because they can't go 30 seconds without saying something that's half true or mistruth or fake or anonymous sources or whatever. So it's like, yeah, he is a different thing because he's gotten everything correct.
Also, people like to pretend he's really sloppy and puts everyone at risk. There's a cable that was just released where there's a phone call between Assange and someone at the State Department. I don't know if you heard this, but he's like trying to explain to them time after time, like hundreds of times during this conversation, that there's someone who infiltrated or someone who is part of WikiLeaks who is no longer part of WikiLeaks, who is trying to reveal information. And he's really giving the State Department a heads up about this so that they can react to certain things. And he's saying he's going to publish something else to maybe distract from it. And it's it's the opposite of careless or reckless. It's really, it's on I can find, I'll put a link to it.
Well, yeah. And in the trial, that of course was a, kangaroo court, but in the trial, it was made clear that the cables that were released that actually revealed names and were unredacted, it was due to the encryption code that the Guardian journalist published in his book. So it was not Assange that revealed that encryption code. It was the idiot Guardian journalist.
Yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, right. If this is such treacherous material, if it's so dangerous, then shame on the New York Times, the Guardian, and everyone else who reported on it, right? Like, again, just be consistent and pick a narrative. And the
irony of it all too is like they call Assange, they accuse him of like working with Russia to meddle in America, but like WikiLeaks cables, I really encourage people who haven't actually ever looked at them before to just go play around and look, because
get the book, the WikiLeaks files, the book.
Yeah, because what's amazing about the cables is it's basically, especially the State Department cables, is it's basically all these ambassadors and their staff have to report everything they do, all the people they meet with and see in the countries that they work in. And so in a country, for example, like Lebanon, since that's where I live and I look at a lot of the cables in Lebanon, you can see like how in these years where there was like a conflict, the U.S. is advising certain political parties inside Lebanon or meeting with them or telling them exactly what to do. They're like little puppets. Like these cables show and reveal the extent and arrogance of U.S. meddling in countries all over the world. Like, you guys, we think that Russia meddled in America. The U.S. literally funds and provides advisors to political parties and countries where it wants to influence them. Like, it would be like Russia or China funding and advising like a political party in the U.S. That's how insane that is. And that's what the U.S. has all around the world. And that's what WikiLeaks reveals. And that's why Julian Assange has to be destroyed, because that's embarrassing. Like, on top of the war crimes that it reveals, and just the corruption and just criminal behavior, it's embarrassing for the U.S., for the world to see just how crass and like puppeteering they are in all of these countries around the world.
Yeah. And also just wanted to say that the thing I was referring to is he's literally in this leaked or this unredacted cable that's now available in audio and video. He's basically trying to warn the Clinton the State Department under Clinton. He was trying to mitigate the damage of unintentional, like of a dump that was going to happen, a data dump that was going to happen, that he had not engaged in. So again, like, this is not someone who's sloppy or putting people's lives at risk. In fact, it was Hillary Clinton's State Department that ignored it. So that's always, that's really an interesting thing to know. To note.
Well, it's like every criticism the corporate media has on Julian Assange it's just like classic projection. Like, oh, well, he's careless. The guy who doesn't divulge sources and never had to retract a document, that's the careless guy. That's the careless guy. Let's look at y'all's track record. How are you guys doing? You've never had to retract anything except you do every freaking day. Like, oh, they
don't retract it. That's the worst part of. That's even worse. You know,
sometimes they don't. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, it's like, oh, he's interfering. He's meddling. It's like we meddle all around the world. We meddle all around the world. In fact, there was that study that revealed the institution that has meddled the most around the world is the CIA. They've meddled in elections around the world.
That sounds like Russian propaganda, Ron.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can.
That sounds Russian-y.
That sort of
Russian-y
the Lee camp Putin.
I know that sounds campian. Yeah. Are you a campian? Are you a campinist?
The Camp Putin industrial complex.
Exactly. Yeah. Lee, I'm a camp stooge. The other thing I just wanted to bring up is the fact that this is really important. You know how everyone talks about Podesta being hacked. This is one of the funniest things. He was the victim of phishing. He literally was asked to give his password, and he then emailed like a cybersecurity person, and is like,
"He's an idiot."
Yeah.
Well, and he goes, "Should I give my password?" And the guy is like, "Definitely do." He meant definitely do not. And then the guy did it. And I think am I right that his password was actually password?
Wait, that sounds.
I don't remember that part.
But you know the other part, right?
I know the story. I know it was phishing. Yeah, he was.
It's unbelievable.
He was just
no one ever talks about that.
The email just said your account may have been, corrupted or whatever. Send us your password. And he was like, "All right."
Yeah, and
it all started when I was trying to help out a Nigerian prince. I'm trying to do the right thing. I was supposed to get $5,000 back, and it didn't work out. And now it's a mess. We got to pin this on somebody else.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about. I did not know John Podesta gave his password.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy. What an idiot! Like he asked
they should have
for
blamed him for Trump's win if they were gonna do that.
Yeah. That's the best thing I've heard ever. Yeah, we should lock up John Podesta.
It was password, guys. His password was password.
I had heard that.
I mean, look, I haven't
too.
fact checked this source, but it looks like someone checked it.
Yeah.
What an idiot!
1 second.
Oh
I have
my God.
adjust my headphones.
They have to prosecute Assange to like cover up how stupid they are.
Right.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we were talking about this very early on. I think people are under the misconception that this prosecution of Assange is related to the 2016, the exposure of those emails. And that has nothing to do with what this is about. But they are trying to get him for being the hacker and encouraging Chelsea Manning to actually do the hacking as if that was his job to do. And so that's the basis of everything. So, interestingly, the 2016, according to this, he could have it was just given to him because someone gave away their password.
Yeah, nobody hacked him. He was like, he hacked himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're acting like he told Chelsea Manning how to hack in, but it was stuff she had access to anyway. All he was doing is helping her cover her tracks, which is for a journalist standard procedure. Like, here's how to safely give me the information that you have approached me with.
Yeah, because is what was done.
Chelsea Manning was caught because of like an informant.
I mean,
and then
that's
put
the
in
only
solitary confinement, by the way, as punishment for her being suicidal. Which, if you for any minute have any faith in the criminal justice system, just know that is considered an appropriate way to deal with someone suicidal, is by putting them into conditions that the UN has declared torture.
Which is what they do.
Well, they wanted
Assange too.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to get a confession. They wanted to get a confession out of her. That they wanted Chelsea Manning to say, like, yeah, Julian Assange helped me hack, because that's the only way they have any. I mean, the charges are so beyond bogus that there's not a word in the English language for how ridiculous they are. But that's still the only shred they're hanging on to, because just getting information from a source, well, that's not, a journalist can do that. And even saying, hey, this is good, can you get me more of this? A journalist can do that. If he actually helped her hack, okay, well, that's different, but there's no evidence whatsoever that he did that. So they're trying to force this confession out of her that she hasn't given, probably because it's not true.
And I
Yeah.
said this earlier, but I want to make sure that people who are just tuning in know this. But Matt Taibbi and I had on Daniel Ellsberg on Useful Idiots last week. And, there are people out there who like to distinguish between Ellsberg and WikiLeaks, Snowden, and Manning and Assange. And they're, especially like Snowden and Manning, because they're the whistleblowers, not the publisher. But it's, Ellsberg supports all of them and is, an advocate for all of them. And people who try to draw some line in the sand as if he's on the good side and they're on the bad side, they are disagreeing with Ellsberg. So they should just know that.
I think the interesting thing, one of the most interesting aspects about the British, sorry to like turn it into this, but one of the interesting aspects about the British refusal to extradite Assange to the US, I feel like it's so amazing how even in his imprisonment, Julian Assange is still exposing so much about the US, because the reason they refused to extradite him is because they felt that he would face inhumane conditions in American prisons. And that says so much, because you were just talking about the way Chelsea Manning was treated. And Julian Assange would be subjected, I believe, to much worse than that, actually, if he were to end up in a US prison.
Yeah, and it's the same reason they didn't
places.
extradite Lowry Love, was because they said the U.S. Has uniquely horrible prisons that these people, both Lowry and Julian, might kill themselves in.
Yeah, they will push you to suicide. I mean, U.S. prisons are like, we talk about the U.S. like State Department likes to talk about inhumane conditions in other countries and how they treat people. But, the fact of the matter is we have the largest prison population in the world.
Number one!
Like, per capita. Number one. We lock up poor people for being poor and black and poor and white and poor and basically everything else, disproportionately black. We put children in solitary confinement in the U.S.
Yeah.
That is like unheard of. We put children and we torture children. We put like people in for-profit prisons. We have like prisoners do labor for free. Like we have them fight.
Well, I can top
wildfires
Florida
for, like,
being
$1
number one
a
on this. Florida's number one. Florida actually direct files the most children as adults, prosecutes them as adults. And Florida also has the most number one for-profit prisons in the country. So yay, Florida.
And people were given Biden credit for saying he was announcing he was ending private federal prisons. That accounts for something like 0.06% of prisoners in the U.S. So although it's better than not doing it, let's not jump up and down and act like it's the end of the U.S. prison state.
Also, it was also just a reversion back to the Obama administration policy. The Obama administration actually did the same thing. They ended federal private prison contracts. Trump undid that. So Biden got credit for just going back to the status quo, basically. But also, most private prisons are actually state-run. So it didn't even count for the majority of people held in private prisons. State-run, which is like what Jen was just alluding to about Florida being the number one place for private prisons. But anyway, I mean, the fact that the UK, which is like America's little bitch. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that here. Can I? I don't care. America's a little bit.
No, the United States,
whatever.
United States. Don't
well,
be.
It's
don't
a
be
very
the Americas
submissive,
America.
submissive state to the U.S. And the fact that even they were like, "Ooh, your prisons, we can't." No, I mean, it's interesting how even in his lowest point, where his life is being destroyed, Julian Assange's existence is still exposing America in so many embarrassing ways.
True.
Yeah, because the conditions weren't
loophole.
great at Belmarsh. I mean, the conditions were pretty bad there, but they were like, yeah, it's bad here, but oh, geez, U.S., we can't do that.
What does that say? What does that say? That he's freezing, starving, being alienated from his legal counsel, and yet they're scared to send him here.
We really are exceptional. American exceptionalism is real.
It's just like the opposite of the way that like liberals see it.
It's really disgusting. Sorry, I keep saying that word, but it is.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Can we also talk for a minute about how pathetic the corporate media, corporate journalists, corporate reporters have been on standing up for Julian Assange, which is like not standing up for your own goddamn job and your own freedom to do your goddamn job.
Well, I think it's
Well, I
because
wondered,
they
you know?
never would. Sorry, yeah, keep going. Yeah.
I just think that the majority of those people nowadays aren't really journalists,
Yeah.
right? So these are just
Right.
stenographer talking heads that are just sitting there getting paid to spew whatever the, you know, press office tells them to say. And so they don't really probably have any loyalty to the field of journalism because we don't have journalists in those positions anymore. So
True,
what do
but
they
it's-
care?
True, but it's amazing you can't even find some like lower level people that are standing up because
I
they
think they're
know
scared.
they know they'll be pushed out of, like, you know, if they work
Right.
at CBS and they're
It's self-censorship.
Yeah.
It's they don't.
Yeah,
They're not
right.
stupid. Like, it's like, I guess
Yeah.
maybe it kind of goes along with what we were talking about with why progressive politicians won't speak out on this. It's like, it's a career ender.
Yeah.
Because it's like when you talk about imperialism, it's this third rail, or like Israel, Palestine, or
That's
telling
the
the
third
truth
rail.
about, you know, right? I think they all are because they're all a part of the same thing, right? The Assange stuff, Israel, Palestine, Syria, Venezuela, you know, these are all a part of imperialism. Like, speaking honestly about them challenges empire. And that's the third rail. Challenging empire in that kind of way is the third rail. That's what you can't talk about. That's why we're all smeared as Assadists, and we love Putin, and, you know, we want China to like be our daddy and whatever else people say, because we're just like, no, we just don't want like wars and we don't want the world to be destroyed. Like, we don't want, you know, corporations we don't want this like handful of elites to be like parasites that just suck everything while there's literal like people starving. There's like children who don't have food in the world, and there's like these people who have more money than entire countries. Like, it's we've
That's
opposed
exactly
that
what
system.
Putin would say, Rania.
Yeah, he told me to
really
say
what
that.
Lee Camp would say.
Starving. the old Russian children starving line.
Well, I think in so many ways, this is, I mean, this is a free press story of a generation. And you really have to hope, and I hold out this hope that as the years go by, I mean, hopefully Julian Assange is free, obviously, but as the years go by, this will be viewed through the right lens, through the correct lens, where they'll just take a look and be like, wow, how did so many players, not just in the United States, but around the world even, participate in this brutal assault on freedom of the press and a brutal assault against this person. And, you know, hopefully they'll at least, we'll all at least be able to say, hey, we tried our best. We were on the right side of it.
Yeah. I think that's really important. I've been saying that my whole life, like wondering, had I been born, you know, a generation earlier, would I have been on the right side of history with things like the civil rights movement? Would I have done that? And, you know, you never really know. And so all you can do is what you would do right now. And I think, to me, like, you know, the thought of prosecuting him is absurd. I mean, I think we should be building monuments to him.
Yeah.
So it's not just to not prosecute him. I mean, yes, that's our top priority, but it's the fact that he's not viewed as a hero.
Right.
You know, it's really such a disconnect from what's reality.
Yeah, I think, and also, you know, I really think it's important to emphasize what you're saying, a hero, because, you know, we're all brave in a way, like in a sense that we're willing to go against the grain, and we're willing to be smeared and like called all kinds of names. But I can't say if I was faced with like any sort of prosecution or like being put behind bars or like death, like I'd probably shut my mouth. I don't think you know, like, to the fact that, you know, he was faced with entire countries, the most powerful country in the world was after him, and he still kept doing what he was doing. And that, to me, is a kind of bravery that I certainly don't think I have. And I think most people don't have that. That's what makes it heroic.
I think you
like,
do.
really,
you live in Beirut.
It's still not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Like, I really don't. You know, I'm talking like faced with prison time or death. Like, those two things that's different. Like, none of us are facing that. And we don't know how we'd act in that situation. If it was like Chelsea Manning, heroic for not like just giving the US government what they wanted and saying, okay, I'll say what you want me to say about Julian Assange. Just please don't make me spend the rest of my life living in these torturous conditions. And she didn't do that. Like, that's like a kind of heroism that I don't think most people actually are capable of. And it amazes me that it actually makes me angrier that Julian Assange is treated like this, bad person that we should all dislike rather than the opposite.
Yeah, I was going to say that's another, that's the biggest reason why whenever people bring up the personality thing, I just kind of, are you kidding me? Look, if I went through half of what that guy has been through, I would not be Joe Sunshine. I can promise y'all right now. I would not be Joe Sunshine if I've been through even a fraction of what that guy has gone through.
And also, how can you possibly think that that's at all relevant? It's just embarrassing.
Right. It's completely irrelevant.
Yeah, but
I mean, you guys, I stubbed my toe and I'm mad for an hour and I'm not very nice to people. If I was faced with solitary confinement, I would be a bit of a pill for a while.
Yeah.
Or even much less.
I think
than
it's
that.
irrelevant. I think it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And this is something that I think that definitely is more of a left issue, is they get so concerned with personalities and how it makes them feel about people. And I've never cared about that. I don't need to be friends with them. I'm not needing friends. You know what I mean? I got friends. I'm good. These people are meant to do what they're meant to do. And if they're doing their job, that's all that matters. They don't need to be likable. That's not a category that warrants constitutional protection.
I heard MLK wouldn't remember your name often when he'd meet people. So I'm really,
it's
not, really hate that guy.
His wife too. So that's not very admirable. So,
but yeah. And the other thing people should remember is that the Julian Assange issue is not just about him, as we've kind of touched on throughout this, but it's about so many things. I mean, if he ultimately is just kept in prison for the rest of his life or dies there or whatever, I mean, it will show that war crimes will never be held accountable, those who commit them. It will show that our governments can have a completely secret form of operation where they do completely criminal things and they just get away with it. It'll show that these ridiculously powerful ruling elite can just crush anything that reveals the way they work and their criminal deeds. And so it really is representative of a whole larger system that we need to be fighting to tear down and to allow transparency, to allow people to actually be informed enough to vote or not vote for these ridiculous oligarchs. And if you can't find out what the way these governments are behaving and what they're doing, then you can't actually be informed enough to call them to account or to vote for them or to stand with them or against them. And so it is just so many larger issues that Julian Assange represents.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Thank you guys so much for entertaining me this hour. No, this was great. I kind of figured, I told Katie last night, entertaining.
Educating.
I knew this would be entertaining panel.
But they're more than that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but do you guys, before you go, do you want to plug anything, what you're working on? I mean, it's all good to do that here.
I have a new electric grill I'm selling.
Instead of a foreman, you're now going to get a camp.
Yeah, exactly.
It is powered by Russian's power grid.
Well, it's Russians on stationary bikes. Yeah. So. All my stuff's at leecamp.com. I have a TV show, live stream, multiple podcasts. Just check out leecamp.com.
Yeah.
I've got a ramifications.com and check out Unauthorized Disclosure, the podcast I co-host with Kevin Gastola, who was on the hour before us. And I've got lots of cool things coming up. So check out ramifications.com. Follow me on Twitter for updates on where
there's something exciting we don't know yet. It's coming soon, so you need to pay attention. That's what I know. Pay attention to Rania.
Thank you. Well said.
Yeah. I am at romplacone.com and I'm at romplacone on all social media. Most active on Twitter at romplacone. And that's home for all things that I'm involved in.
Thank you guys so much. And I appreciate it very much. And please spread this and see you later.
Great seeing you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Good seeing everyone. Peace.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.